Serious, what was the worst experience you had in elementary school? I called my teacher mom. I then tried to correct myself and referred to her as the names of several other teachers before shutting up and trying to phase into my chair. Once in 4th grade I told the teacher I had to use the potty instead of the bathroom. Luckily no one heard me because it was during a speech. My mother had sent me to school very sick one day, and I was having a horrible time to say the least. Nauseous, fever, cough, but I couldn't stay home as she had a very important job interview, so I pretended I was a lot better than I was for her. About a half hour into school, I got this feeling in the pit of my stomach. Oh god. I proceeded to walk over to where everyone kept their backpacks, where nobody could see me, found the nearest one and puked inside of it. I was a stupid kid, so I looked around to make sure no one saw. This storage area was around the corner from the class desks and they were having play mat time, so nobody noticed me, and I put the poor kid's backpack back on its hook. 2 hours later during lunch, I heard a scream, followed by a couple students getting sick all over the lunchroom tables and floor, and that boy whose bag I puked in was crying his freaking eyes out. The teacher basically interrogated the class and I finally burst into tears and admitted it was me. I was sent to the nurse, then detention, and my mother never looked so angry with me when she picked me up. As for the kid, he didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, then told me he hated me and that my puke smelled like his cat's litter box. We started dating 8 years later and we are still together. Well, that ending went from dang that sucks to oh yay good for you. I was bullied a lot and also had a bad haircut. One day in class, all of us students were sitting a line while the teacher spoke. Halfway through the teacher stopped talking. He walked up to me and pulled on my hair saying, "Is this for real?" He then erupted with laughter and so did the rest of the class. As they all laughed at me, I felt mortified. I wanted to die. I will never forget that moment. I was running around the playground, saw a couple of girls with a small milk carton between them, ran through and kicked it. Turns out they had a pet hamster or squirrel in it. I killed the pet right in front of them. I have felt bad about that for my whole life and I am 54 now. My father did that. I had just gotten a hamster, and it was rolling around in one of those balls while we put the cage together. He came home from work and thought I got a sports ball or something, and happily kicked it at me. I got a new hamster. I grew up in Guyana, South America as a young child due to my father's job. I lived there twice, once in the Amazon rainforest with a small tribe and once in the capital, Georgetown. When I was in 2nd grade I was at the American school, which had a large fence all around it and a gated entrance. Once, 2 very poor starving Guyanese children called out to myself and a couple of my friends while we were playing at recess, asking for food. We gave them some of our extra lunch from our lunch boxes and they thanked us profusely. Then, as they turned around and walked away, an older Guyanese man shot them both in the head and stole the food before fleeing as everyone started to panic. Great, now anything I post is going to look like a trip to Disneyland. In 2nd grade we sat at desks arranged in groups of 4 with 2 pairs of desks facing each other. I was grasping the front edge of my desk, and this kid slammed his desk against my fingers. Not sure if it was intentional, but it hurt. I started crying. The teacher noticed and, instead of dealing with the situation in a sane way befitting a 2nd grade teacher, her punishment for the boy was to have me slam my desk against his fingers. I told her it was okay, because WTF. I really didn't want to do that, but she made me do it anyway. She was a terrible teacher. Pooped my pants in kindergarten. Then I stepped on it. Then I proceeded to walk around the classroom. When asked if I did it, I denied the act even though the footprints led to me and my pants smelled pretty bad. Got sent home. Many of those kids probably don't remember, but some nights I lay in bed, thinking what might have been if I just went to the bathroom. I got really sick once. My mother sent me to school, despite the fact that I felt awful. I walked into the bathroom, threw up on the floor and then proceeded to crap my pants. I locked myself in a stall until the teacher came, cleaned me up, and brought me to the nurse. There's one story that will always stick in my mind. I was in 3rd grade and we were supposed to bring back signed permission slips for our trip to the library. The only person in the class who didn't bring his permission slip was a friend of mine. My 3rd grade teacher thought it'd be appropriate to interrogate him in front of the entire class as to why he did not bring it back. He responded that he would be unable to attend and she continued to press him. All of a sudden, he bursts into tears and explained that he has to attend a funeral. You'd think that she'd have the brains to stop there, right? Wrong. She still has the nerve to ask whose, and I'll never forget the look on his face when he replied my mom's. Freaking hated that teacher so much for many other reasons too. He moved about a week after that and his father got in contact with our family updating on their status, which wasn't exactly great. That was my worst experience. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for him. Had a teacher tell me I was a slacker when all I wanted to do was mind my own business. She constantly took me out into the hall because I wasn't talking as much as I should and lectured me how I was disturbing everyone else. Even had my parents come in at one point. Sorry, I was a quiet kid lady. I was trapped by a bully after school. His mate sat on me, whilst the bully slowly and methodically broke all 8 fingers. This was in 3rd grade. I'm that like beyond school bully and a little more psychopath. There was this lady at my school who taught special ed who was a typical scary faced bee. One day, she took us to indoor recess. Our normal teacher couldn't take us for some reason, and I was skipping happily, like a normal child would do. She immediately scolds me and says that I can't play in recess. I had to sit in a chair in the corner of the gym while I watched all of my friends play some weird game. After the first round of the game was over, I got up to go play with them because I assumed that my punishment wasn't as severe as sitting out the whole time. Nope, I was yelled at and told to sit back down for skipping, like the happy child that I was. Speech therapy. The kids in my grade level were really cool and didn't make fun of me for having a speech impediment. I was actually well liked. I only felt different during speech therapy. Nothing felt worse than when your teacher is standing in front of class and the speech therapist has to interrupt the lesson to take you, and only you, out of class. This happened on a weekly basis, mind you. I didn't speak good English when I first moved to the US in 3rd grade. I didn't know that F was a swear word. I used it casually. One time the teacher asked who first settled town I lived in. I responded, the effing British. I got suspended for 3 days. Pro tip: before moving to another country, learn which words are offensive and don't say them to your teacher. This butthole kid stabbed me in the shoulder with a metal fork during a snowball fight. I pee my pants 2 or 3 times in 1st grade because the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. Got bullied by a stereotype bully in 4th and 5th grade. I broke my foot and was forced to have someone help me use the restroom even though I could use it by myself no problem. Being a shy boy that used sit down meter for peeing his whole life, I refused to use the restroom while at school. One day we switched chairs for the day only and I sat on the hot girl's seat. I couldn't hold my pee any longer and I let it go. We switched back at the end of the day and she sat on my pee. What in the actual frick? Okay, so my 1st grade teacher was a total donghead who was constantly doing things that probably should have gotten him fired. Like telling the entire class that they should never be like me and using my art project as an example of what everyone shouldn't do. Singling me out, openly mocking me and my family in front of the class. Forcing me to go to a kindergarten class so he could use me as a bad example there, etc. I'm almost positive he hated me. The worst thing, though, happened one day during our math time. I was in the advanced math class and had already learned what we, as a class, were doing on a worksheet. Because of this, I worked ahead and finished it before the other kids. This prompted him to take my sheet, scream at me for working ahead of the class not paying attention, violently rip up my worksheet, throw it in the garbage, and make me start over. It was more humiliating than anything up to that point and the only time I'd ever been punished for being smart. I had long hair in kindergarten 1st grade. Can't quite remember, but a kid used to always tease me about it, saying I looked like a girl in a dude. Anyway, I dragged him into our little cubby space in class and gave him a haircut with safety scissors. The old ones cut hair pretty well. Got in a ton of trouble. BTW if you lived in Las Vegas 20 some odd years ago and this was you, my bad. You do not lie about those scissors. When I was really young and coloring in class, I think this was in kindergarten, I was getting annoyed at my hair for falling in my face, so I just grabbed the safety scissors and gave myself bangs. According to the teacher, I did a really good job at it too. A group of boys, who were a few years older than me, I was 6, they were 12, would relentlessly chase me around the school every lunchtime. I would hide in the toilets until I was sure they got bored of waiting. I told teachers, but they never did anything. Honestly, I lived in fear of them all year until they left for high school. They were double my age and, like, 3 times my size. It was horrible. When I was in 2nd grade, I had a crush on this one girl, and when we were on a field trip, I saw this ladybug ring for sale. I bought it knowing that she liked ladybugs and waited for the right time to give it to her. I ended up doing it at the end of the field trip as we were gathering our stuff in front of her friends. She laughed in my face and refused the gift. I felt like crap and threw it out. If for nothing else, you can use this story to impress girls you like now because you were a really romantic 2nd grader. My 4th grade teacher would always ridicule me in front of the class for not being able to learn my multiplication tables. I'm dyscalculic. I hated 4th grade so much. It was a nightmare. I crapped my pants while doing a speech in front of the class. My teacher had not one sympathetic bone in her body and treated me as if I punched her elderly mother in the face. I was a bathroom monitor with my friend. He took the boy one, I had the girl one, and they were obviously next to each other. We were just talking and messing around, and at one point I jokingly held his shoulders for whatever reason, and this teacher starts screaming from down the hall for me to let go of him. What am I doing? Etc. I also had the meanest 1st grade teacher ever who didn't believe that I wasn't bullying him, and kept demanding that I do to her what I did to him to prove it. Still freaking hate both of those teachers. My kindergarten teacher changed my card from green to yellow because I tugged at another girl's t-shirt to tell her that I thought it was pretty. I'm gonna be honest, I flipped out like SpongeBob did in that one episode when he got a good noodle star taken away. Having Red Rover banned school-wide at recess because some kid broke his arm. I was bullied pretty mercilessly at the hands of another kid in 7th grade. He would call me a fat $% or a retard. I was chubby, but actually rather intelligent in hindsight, and kick me or shove me into lockers in front of my peers. Since I was always taught to follow the law and the rules, I never responded with violence because I thought that he would get his just desserts from the school admin. When my parents complained to the school administration, rather than doing the sensible thing and punishing the little crap, the principal called us both into the office and tried to pin the blame 50/50 on me and him. And that's when the crocodile tears began to flow from that evil brat. As a lot of things he did to me, he began to claim as me being done to him. In the end, he got off scot-free, and I got a 30 minutes detention. I never trusted school staff after that. In 1st grade, my best friend and I were horsing around as we were lining up to go outside to get picked up by our parents. He whacked me in the forehead with his lunchbox and it started to bleed. I went to my teacher and told her I fell, and when she saw me bleeding she freaked out, grabbed me by the hand and practically dragged me outside, where she hopped around looking for my mom's car. Got some stitches out of it and a badass scar that eventually healed over as I aged. In 3rd grade I got sent to the principal's office 3 times in one day. Was not a good feeling waiting to go home. This is Girl Pepe. She only appears once in every 50,000 memes, like in 3 seconds for good luck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.